All right, good morning. Welcome, Quay, bienvenue. Welcome to our monthly Entrepreneur Ecosystem Coffee Break. My name is Carol Spicer, owner of Spicer Facilitation and Learning. Happy to join you from the unceded territory of the Beothuk in the beautiful community of Pasadena on the West Coast. That is currently sunny, and we're very excited to see that. So we also know that given the sun, we're probably up against that as competition. So thank you for joining us here today for our monthly Entrepreneur Coffee Break. This coffee break session, I think this is our 15th session that started pre-COVID and was actually kind of ahead of its time going virtual, and now it's become kind of the way that everyone connects. I just got off a session this morning that was some of the feedback, was the benefits of actually connecting virtually is an opportunity to meet people across the province without having to always travel. So there's some benefits, and I know personally I'm starting to have a few more in-person meetings. So I'm liking that balance of being able to connect with people virtually, and then once in a while being able to do lunch with someone or have a connection with someone. So that we're getting there. So this partnership between Spicer Facilitation and Navigate, as I say, has been going strong, and we're really pleased to you, the community. And this session I'm quite excited about because it actually came out of last month's session. So in our session last month, we got a lot of questions around succession planning. So we immediately jumped on it, and we twisted a few arms, coerced a few people, and we have Mark and Tobi here to speak with us today. So we're very pleased to welcome them, and we'll get into that a little bit further. So I'm here with Alison Rowe. I'm going to turn to you, Alison, to do your little introduction. We do have a couple new faces that may benefit from understanding who you are. While we're doing that, one thing that we do encourage is in chat, and your little control panel may have collapsed on you. So if it has, just click the little arrow. In chat, please say hello and give us your business name or just organization that you're with, and your contact information. And that way we will share that in our follow-up. So I want to make sure you get that in case you have to jump off the call, which we understand. If you're not able to stay the whole time, then that's certainly fine as well. But please give us your contact info, because we do try to include that in all of our follow-up communications, because it is your community and we want you to know one another. Edwina, you've got your hand raised. Do you have a question, or is that just you're clicking on something? Want to make sure.
Playing around with the with the system here, so just trying to get used to it. Apologize.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Just make sure I don't.
Newbie, is it?
I just want to make sure I don't bypass you. All right, Alison, I'll go to you.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedules on this beautiful sunny day, where I'm sure everyone would like to be outside right now. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alison Rowe, and I'm the manager of Navigate. And Navigate is a partnership between Grenfell campus and College of the North Atlantic campus in Corner Brook. And we help entrepreneurs, we help new and existing entrepreneurs, be it students or small businesses in Western Newfoundland mainly, who from the early stages of starting a business, so that's ideation, sort of lean startup or some of the things that we've been doing, and onward to the launch of their business, expansion, growth, commercialization. We also help people with prototype and product development as well through our makerspace. And so Navigate has 3 service pillars. The Entrepreneurship Center, which is for early stage entrepreneurs, is located on both the Grenfell and CNA campuses here in Corner Brook. The Business Incubator, which has 3 resident offices for new businesses just starting up, plus a co-working space, and that's located at CNA campus. And we also have a makerspace located at Grenfell campus. And our physical locations are closed right now due to COVID, but we're still offering support virtually. And I also want to mention that right now there's work that's taking place. I don't know, a lot of you who are familiar with Corner Brook know the building that's right across from the mill. There's a big old white building, the former HR. That's currently being renovated and is going to become the new innovation center. and the Makerspace and Business Incubator are going to be set up down there in the future. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, I was quite excited to actually see construction happening when I drove by recently.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
I'm sure the first part of it was fumigating it and getting everything out of it.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have that up and running.
Yeah.
So as Carol mentioned, we wanted to talk a bit about succession planning today. It's a topic that's come up a few times. People have been interested in learning more. So, you know, a lot of people also wonder what succession planning is, and wonder whether or not it's important to them. So basically, you know, in a nutshell, succession planning for businesses it involves the logistical and financial decisions that you make about who will take over your business. And that might be a planned takeover, you know, as you retire, but sometimes it can be, you know, for the unexpected things that happen in life as well. And then why is it important? Well, it helps you prepare in advance for those either planned or unplanned events. And it helps you sort of determine, you know, the identity of who your ideal successor would be, what the best selling arrangement for your business would be, and how to make a smooth transition to new ownership and management for your existing employees and your existing clients, and how to maintain the value of your business, again, through those ups and downs. And succession planning, as we'll talk about today, is important for everyone, whether you're a solopreneur or you've got a business with multiple employees, whether it's a family business. It's something that you should be thinking about early on.
All right, excellent, thank you. So we have two speakers with us here today. Mark Tierney is here from ACOA, and I'm sure he'll introduce a bit more about that as needed. And we have Tobi Biggin, who is with CBDC Humber here in Corner Brook area. And I think Tobi runs all the way up to Rocky Harbor, I think is we had in discussion. So we kind of approached Mark because Mark deals with a lot of entrepreneurs. Mark has been an entrepreneur. And I think it was Mark who actually started the conversation last month that said, what was it you said, Mark? Don't enter before you have an exit plan or something, or I don't know, you said it much more eloquently than me. And that sort of started this whole conversation about succession planning.
Sorry about that.
That's okay,
So
thank you.
Start with this quote that I guess it's often misquoted, but the best way to predict the future is to invent it. It was not said by Abe Lincoln, like is often quoted on the internet. It's actually a recent quote by the chief scientist from Atari back in the 80s. And I think it really applies to succession planning. So I'll start with that. So I put this pup in here because he's out for a walk. And succession planning is really a journey. It's not something that just, boom, happens. It takes time, it's deliberate. So we'll get into that. And if anyone has any questions, just sort of ball them out along the way. So, oh, my computer is not liking me here. Okay, so the basics. There are some very basic things. So the basic strategy, and there's a lot of variations of these, and there's other ones, but really, you can sell the business, you can sell the assets of the business, you can sell the business in pieces. You know, if you're really lucky, you can do an IPO and, you know, be a millionaire, or you could just wind it down. And I put a little sad face by winding it down because almost always there is some value in it or something you can sell when you close a business. Not always. But most of the time. So you know, I sort of said that was the worst case scenario, and an IPO is usually financially the best case scenario. I don't know any companies that I've worked with that have done an IPO, so you know, they're pretty rare, but it's still, you know, something we all strive for. So the other, oh, okay, my computer is lagging here, is the who, and this is a big part of succession planning. It's not just what the strategy is, but who you're going to sell it to. So are you going to sell it to family? Are you going to sell it to a business partner, an employee? Are you going to try to go to the open market? Are you going to try to sell it to another business? Or do you think you're going to get an unsolicited offer by someone at some point in time because you've done such a great job? And, you know, the reality of it is you need to, you know, look at all the different possible who could buy your business and, you know, try to figure out what the best opportunities are and plan for those opportunities. You know, I put that little pine martin there because sometimes an opportunity just comes along and it's not the best opportunity, but it's a good opportunity. So you got to make the best of it. So I got that really crappy picture of a pine marten because it's the only time I've ever seen one from 6 feet away. So, you know, that's really important to think about. Like sometimes something just comes along and you really need to be, you know, oftentimes ready for that because something might not just come along again. Like I took that picture a decade ago. So, you know, you really need to be prepared. So that's the other thing. Like you don't know when any of these folks might sort of wander your way. Main thing is to have an exit plan from the beginning. And, you know, if you don't have a plan from the beginning, it'd be really hard to develop one later because things change. Things like at the beginning, things are simple, right? Like you have an idea, you probably don't have a whole lot of assets. You might not have as many investors or business partners or loans or legal obligations. So the sooner you plan for the exit, the better. And I know a lot of folks have an exit agreement if they're in a partnership arrangement before they put any money in. It's pretty common. But it's to have a plan from the beginning and make sure all the people involved in the business have signed on to that plan, I guess. Because that can get really tangly. And I can't name any businesses, but I will say, like, I'm dealing with one now where the owner has been trying to sell the business. And there are 3 owners, and only 2 of them want to sell, and the third one is holding out, but the buyer wants all or nothing. And it's a very hard business to sell. So they didn't have a mechanism to force the third person out, you know, should that need to happen. And that's actually a pretty common occurrence. So, you know, it's really good to plan for those things in advance. You know, people have probably heard the expression shotgun clause in a partnership arrangement. It's a pretty popular way to do it. I'm not a lawyer, I won't get into it, but it basically allows the partners to, you know, end the relationship in a very peaceful way, despite the name. But definitely have a plan from the beginning. And, you know, a good plan is not to say your 13-year-old son or daughter is going to take over the business in 15 years. I will say that's something I hear a lot of, and it's been a long time since I've actually seen that happen. So I was dealing with an entrepreneur the other day. They have a labor-intensive business. They are 92 years old and are physically not mobile enough to actually go to their business, but they can't find a way out because they thought their daughter was going to take over the business. And you know, the daughter went up, tried running a business for like 2 weeks and was like, I can't do this. This is not me. So, you know, you really need to have a plan. So, and this is I guess the biggest tip is that it's okay to be emotional, but don't let it cloud your judgment. Like your vision of what your business is, you know, despite your best efforts, it's going to be biased, right? You're going to love your business and you're attached to it. You've spent lots of time and effort and made sacrifices, but don't let, you know, your emotions cloud your judgment. And that is the biggest, I guess, hurdle that a lot of, you know, people have to get over is, you know, the emotional attachment to their business. So you need to, you know, account for that, I guess, in your plan. Like, do you want to see this business survive and carry on with the same name? Do you want it to not be associated with you or that name when you're ready to leave? You know, you need to make these decisions and plan for them so that the emotions don't get in the way. Tobi will know who I'm talking about here when I tell this story, but I was I was talking to a business owner about 2 years ago, and they have a relatively large business. I'm going to say 40 to 50 employees, and they were ready to walk out the door, and they had an offer, a signed agreement, and the deal hadn't closed. And then they emotionally, literally broke down and said, if I don't run this business, what will I do for the rest of my life? And I believe they paid a $30,000 penalty to get out of their contract because they hadn't dealt with the emotional side of selling a business. And I know that can be really funny coming from someone who's probably the most numbers-oriented person you've ever met, because the numbers of all of this is what really interests me. But I can even tell you from personal experience, the emotions are hard to deal with. So I put that sort of first. And then everyone thinks it's going to be, off to the races on their horse. They're going to be off into the mountains running. It's going to be a quick process. I found a buyer. We've agreed on the price. It's just going to happen. And then reality sets in. And this company really represents the reality because it is a slow process most of the time. It can take a year, sometimes 2 years to fully sell a business and be out. Tobi can probably think of examples where it's longer than that. So you really need to think about how much longer you plan on working, because depending on the business you're selling, you might not be able to sell it unless you commit to being part of it for a period of time, because your knowledge is worth probably, in a lot of cases, more than the business. So I'll just pick on Carol, for example. If she wants to sell her business, it's nothing without at least having Carol for a period of time, because she has the relationships with the customers. She has the knowledge. She knows how to pull it all together. She knows how to make presentations work on this software without any glitches. So, you really need to think how long you want to keep working at the business and account for that in your plan. And the one thing I hear a lot is, I should have thought of this sooner. Like, that is overarching what I've heard from entrepreneurs when they've tried to sell their business. And also, what do the new owners need to succeed? Because that's where their headspace is. So if you're trying to, hand off the business to someone else, what do they need to succeed? And you need to make sure those things are in place, because inevitably they will probably find those things that are missing prior to taking over the business. Like, most people who buy a business will do their due diligence. So really, what do you need to succeed? And there is a lot to consider in succession planning. One is the financials. So do you have financial records that you can give somebody who is looking to buy the business? Is it organized? Can they get a good look at what the business looks like? And, is that information useful? Because, if you don't have good financials, it can be really hard for the person to take, that information to the bank or to a lender or to an investor to buy the business. So you need to make sure those things are in order. Do you have shareholder agreements or other agreements in place that prevent you or make it easier for you to exit, I guess? A big thing right now is, what's your legal structure? And how that could affect what your succession plans are. Timeframes, obviously, like how soon. I know a lot of entrepreneurs, and now with COVID, like, it feels like everything is for sale in Western Newfoundland. I'm not gonna lie, like, there's a lot of businesses for sale right now. So, the economy plays a big piece of it. Taxes, there are some things you can do that you need to do a couple of years in advance. I'm not an accountant and I'm not a tax expert, but I'm just gonna say there are some things you can do in advance to mitigate the taxes that you're gonna need to pay on selling a business. So you need to take those things into account. And some of those strategies take a few years. So you need to be years out. And you need to think about, your family, your friends, and yourself in this process. You got to do what's best for you. And so you need to consider those things like, does it really mean a lot that you can return, freedom 55? So if that's your goal and that's really important to you, you need to have a plan in place that gets you there, well in advance of that. So does anyone have any questions on any of those sort of key points? This is very 101, but those seem to be the major barriers. And then this is something I say to a lot of people, and this is an English proverb: a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So sometimes, you'll have an opening or an opportunity to sell a business. It's never going to be perfect. So, you really need to think about, is now or this opportunity going to be the best opportunity I'm going to have for a while, or do you think another one's going to come along? And, the more rural and remote you are, I think a lot of times the less frequent those opportunities will present themselves. So, I wouldn't, if someone is really interested in your business, I wouldn't just dismiss it right away. I give it some consideration, because exiting can be difficult. So I always tell people that. And then there's sort of the team you need to put in place to make it happen. So it seems like, oh yeah, they're going to cut me a check for $100,000. They're going to take my business and they're going to go with it. It's not that simple. So you really need to talk to your accountant to make sure you have that in order. Your banker, because there's probably you probably have financial commitments or loans or mortgages or other things associated with the business. You need to make sure they can be transferred, I guess, if need be. Your tax advisor, because there can be huge tax implications to selling a business. And again, I'm not a tax advisor, but there are some federal and provincial programs to allow you to really avoid a lot of the tax on certain types of business sales. Talk to your personal and financial advisor to make sure you can afford to sell the business, or you have a personal financial plan. And a lot of people forget that. You're a lawyer. It's good to have a lot of stuff worked out before you go see the lawyer, like the basics, but you really need a lawyer to draft that agreement. And I think a few of us here on this phone have been through that. It's not complicated, but it's really good to have, you're really, getting that professional advice really helps. And the more you do up front in the early stages of your business, the cheaper all of this advice is, and the quicker and faster everything can happen. So, especially if you have multiple partners, having a partnership or shareholder agreement can be a really critical part to make everything happen smoothly. And also, I don't know who here is in business with other people or has partners, but you will still want to, you likely started a business with someone you like and you respect, and who, so when you end that business relationship, you want to make sure, that'll more likely stay intact if you have all the stuff taken care of up front. So that's sort of another really important thing to consider. And how am I doing for time? See, I said I was going to be 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm pretty well. So the last thing is reach out. Talk to people. Don't be shy, especially if you're trying to sell a business. The more you can get the word out, the better. Not necessarily put a for sale sign up in the window, but there are networks out there. There are people who know people who are looking to invest or buy businesses. So really get the word out there, because you never know who's going to come along. And don't be scared to ask for help or advice, or a referral, or whatnot. And I guess there's one thing I forgot. There's actually a professional designation, and I believe there are a few people in Newfoundland who have it on business valuation. So sometimes it comes to, you need to get a professional business, evaluator to come up with a number, and everyone just agrees to that number, or agree, I don't know. There's lots of ways to do it, but that is a specialty that exists in the financial world. So, depending on how complicated the business is, it might be worthwhile to spend that few $1,000s once you're close to an agreement to have that done. If the business is small, if you're selling a $50,000 business or a $10,000 business, maybe you don't need as much professional help because, the professional help is going to cost more than what the business is worth. But if you're selling a multi-million-dollar business, for sure, you're going to need to talk to more of those folks. So yeah, that was a very quick overview of, and I've been through this personally a few times, and I have no scars to show for it, believe it or not. Still friends with everyone involved. So, I think that's, and I've learned some of this the hard way.
Excellent.
So I don't know if anyone has any questions. I sort of wanted that to be 101, so to speak. Sort of my presentation didn't work. I had all sorts of fancy transitions and graphics and other things hidden there. But
That's okay. Before I open it to questions, I think it's going to be natural to lead right to Tobi, because the last piece that you talked on is going to be into Tobi. But then I do want to open it up and just probably I should have said this up front. But I think every entrepreneur on here, with the exception of Janice, are solopreneurs. And Janice is a partner, and about those friendships, one of her partners is her husband. So yes, I would think after as many years as they've been partners in life, you obviously want they obviously want to stay there as well. And then they have a really, really good friend with them that does that. That is their third partner. So I'm sure that was something she was thinking about as you were going through that piece of it. But Tobi, Mark kind of gave you a nice lead into one of your programs. Make sure you unmute. Got to unmute, Tobi.
Can't hear you, Tobi.
I said it was a great segue. Mark and I are intertwined here today because a lot of things he was talking on is notes I made. I don't have a presentation, so I'm not going to have the technology issue today. We here at the CBDC have a couple of programs that can be beneficial for businesses in our area. One of the ones that is more common is the Consultant Advisory Program, the CAS program, that allows new startups to access funding for business planning, but it also allows existing businesses to access funding for strategic plan if they're looking at changing the operation of their business. It allows them to do a diagnostics, so if they see some issues with the way their business is functioning, if profitability is not where they hope it to be, there's a potential for them to access this funding to allow them to do a diagnostics assessment of their business. There is some caveats, of course, to the program, but we won't get into all that today. This program will allow a business to access up to $5,000 to help towards the cost of hiring a consultant. And it is a great tool for businesses to access some money to give them a better idea of where they are to and where they would like to be going. But in relation to Mark's comment, there is a program specific for the business valuation. So anybody who is looking at succession planning seriously can hire a consultant to do a valuation on their business to see if it is where you would like it to be, what you need to put into place to get it to where you would like it to be. And this program allows you to access up to $7,500, which is 75% of the cost. And there are a few designated evaluators in the province. Some of the more common ones that we've actually approved are Grant Thornton. We get a lot of referrals from them for the program, and BDO. So this is just companies to keep in mind should it be something that you'll be looking at. This succession planning, I guess, is something, as Mark said, should be something taken into consideration right from the beginning, because there is a lot to put consideration to. The capital gains, which Mark's alluded to, the tax implications, talking to your accountant, making sure you can get the best bang for your buck. The mentorship program, whether you are going to be staying on with the business after you've decided to sell to help them through the growth, is another function of it. One of the things, the best pieces of advice, I guess, that I've heard recently is to think of your business as an investment. Most of the businesses with their financials, if they are keeping up on their financials, they understand where their profitability is. Most of the financials we see, the businesses are probably running at a 1% profitability. Would you accept a 1% investment from a bank on your money? Would you like to see more? Are you going to go with a financial institution or an opportunity that will provide you a bigger investment? The goal is to try to get your business, or the advice is to get it between 5 and 10%, preferably a 10% profitability margin. What work do you need to do with your business to get it to a 10% profitability so it looks more favorable to a buyer? Is that a goal of yours or is it not? These are things to take into consideration when you are looking at selling your business and putting plans in place in order to get you there. We also have another program which we use for our entrepreneurs for training, business training. It's called the Entrepreneur Training Fund. So any of our clients can avail of this. It's up to a 90% contribution, maximum of $2,000. Allows them to do training, business management training skills, so that they can learn how to understand their financials better. They can do bookkeeping, marketing, things to help own your skills so that you can run your business more efficiently and profitably as you own it. We also use that program to do group training. So if there's, interest in doing a succession planning workshop, or if getting a tax consultant in from CRA to discuss the tax implications of selling a business with the capital gains. Some group programming like that, we might be able to also work with, Carol to have a more personalized approach to it. So as a CBDC, we, are trying to instill into our businesses that they should be looking to benefit most from their business, the work they've put into it, and the programs that might be out there to set them up for success.
Excellent. Thank you, Tobi. I think it's good to know that, listening to some of the things Mark's saying, of course, I know in my head, it was like money, this is going to cost money, whatever. So it's nice to know there is some money out there to maybe help offset some of those costs. Alison, you want to jump in before I open it up to questions?
Yes, actually, Tobi, as you were saying that, I was making a note to connect with you about maybe offering workshops or a boot camp of some sort. So I think that'd be great. And I mean, as Carol mentioned, there are a lot of solopreneurs on the call here today who probably didn't even consider succession planning as something they would need to look at. And that was actually one of the questions that I wanted to bring up. And I don't know, maybe Carol, I don't know if you want to share your story about our initial discussion with Mark on that, because I think it's a valid one for a lot of people here today.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, so we three of us had a bit of a prep call while we were gently coercing Mark to come on today. And I never ever thought about succession planning. My business is me, is my name. I'm a solopreneur. I thought originally when I worked for government, I was going to work till I was 60 because I was going to get my post-retirement benefits. And my husband has mental health issues, so his drugs cost a lot. So that was my plan. I was going to retire at 60. Now I'm thinking, well, I'm healthy, and as long as I'm continue to be healthy, I'll continue to work. Never, ever thought about selling the business. And I'm having this conversation with Mark and Alison, and they're like, but you have value. And I'm like, what do you mean I have value? So I definitely don't have an exit plan from the beginning, because it never, ever occurred to me until we had a conversation 2 weeks ago. So I will admit, on the weekend, I started to try to calculate the actual cost of my services. I know what I bill out, but I don't actually know the cost. So I've been doing some number crunching and just, I know I'm making money or not making money. I do my income statement and all that stuff. But yeah, it's opened up a new conversation to me. And looking at the entrepreneurs that are on here, and that most of them have their name somewhere in their business, or they are a solopreneur as well. I certainly wanted to share my perspective that has got me thinking. And so now I will lead it open to questions if anyone has any questions for Tobi or Mark.
So I just want to add one thing, because originally when I drafted this presentation, we're going to have someone come in and talk about some of the accounting.
Yeah, that fell through.
One,
They had an emergency. Yeah, we had some. We actually had Grant Thornton lined up, but they had an emergency come up last minute.
so again, I'm not an accountant, or a tax advisor. Say that up front again. But there are some really important things from a financial perspective to look at that the buyer is almost certainly going to look at, and that is, the value of the business from a theoretical perspective is the value of the future cash flows that the business is going to generate. So what's the new owner, how much cash every year are they going to be able to take out of that business? Roughly is what the business is worth. And a lot of times your time is not included as an expense on the income statement, right? You're the owner, you get whatever cash flow you can take out of the business, but that doesn't necessarily mean the new owner will be able to work in the business and take out that same cash flow. They might need to hire someone to do what you do. So when they do the business valuation, that will be an expense that's not on your financials that a professional business valuator should, say should, because there's always exceptions, likely take into account. So if you're selling a business and it generates $100,000 a year in cash flow, and you work it full time, and someone else is going to buy the business and they're going to not work it full time, but they've got to pay someone $60,000 to run the business, they're really only getting $40,000 a year out of that business, right? But they're not putting in their time. So that value of your time is often very contentious. And also it's a terrible accounting term, but it's the goodwill, so to speak, of business. So what's what are the intangibles worth, like the brand, and that can be really difficult as well.
Yeah, and that was the first conversation that the two of you sort of got me thinking is, Carol, you're building relationships with people and that there's value to that. And I look at Sharon and I look at Alison and I look at Edwina, who are also in services, who are building relationships with clients and, drawing people to that. I would think for Janice and her partners, there's a little bit more tangible because it's products. So and you've got bricks and mortar. I don't think any of the rest of us on here have bricks and mortar, right? We're more home-based or services-based. So, that's going to be a little bit different to try and put those intangibles. So I think that's a really important piece, Mark. And I know billable days versus the actual time you work. I remember when I first started, my very first year in business, my target was 5 billable days a month. And someone looked at me and said, "You're only going to work 5 days?" And I said, "No, that's 5 days I want to be paid for. I'm going to be working 20 a month, but if I can get 5 paid contract days, I'm that's money coming in." And so, yeah, I think that's a really valid point, Mark, around, the effort that we put in as business owners, and even for Janice as partners. I mean, Janice shared with me at a meeting we were at this week that technically they're open 3 days right now. They're at the business every day, even though the doors aren't physically open until the summer season hits, but they're still business every single day, putting effort into that business, right? So really good piece. So I'm going to throw it open to questions. Sharon, you've got your microphone open. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I did, and Mark alluded to it just before he finished, and you kind of jumped on that segue. It was all about the goodwill part of it, and that's pretty much, I guess, a huge component of what I do would be the goodwill. About 15 years ago, I looked at purchasing a small business in Pasadena, and the person who I was dealing with, she didn't own the building, and it was some stock or whatnot, but the biggest part of that purchase was going to be goodwill. The biggest. How do you determine what value that is, in your business? Is that a fair question, Mark or Tobi?
So, again, I'm not an accountant, but I've done a lot of financial, I guess, academic sort of financial training. And I would say really it comes down to the value of the business is really what cash flow it will generate. And the goodwill is really, should be, that's the brand. So that's just part of that calculation is, how much cash flow is going to come out of it.
All right.
Because there's a lot of businesses where on the sort of, if you look at the balance sheet, they're worth nothing because they have no assets, but then they have all sorts of revenue and profit. So, it's really about what that cash flow is worth. And
well, that's what, Toby, that's pretty much what stopped me years ago from purchasing that business. It looked like the goodwill was all I was buying because the building wasn't with the package and it was just stock, which I would have to keep replenishing and start my own. I said, well, I'm spending out all this money on something that's out in the air. Where is it? So I just stopped there. I didn't purchase the business.
And so
Brent,
one thing I didn't put in there that sometimes comes up is sometimes a business, like the barriers to entry are also a piece of something to consider. Like if you're trying to sell a business where it's really easy for Bob to set up right next door, there's no barrier to them duplicating your business. That can also affect the price that a professional evaluator can sort of, would also put that lens potentially to it. But it's not simple. It's really good when all parties agree or have a system in place to begin with. But it's there is a value to that brand name, and the history of that business, no doubt.
Yep.
And goodwill can be worth a lot. Like I know someone who bought a business recently, and they could have started that business for a small fraction of the cost of what they paid. But the brand that they were buying was so powerful, like it was the dominant brand in that local marketplace, that it was worth, like the brand was worth, it was worth a couple $100,000. It was worth more than the assets for sure, because the business was profitable.
Well, Mark, you continue to pick, yeah. I was going to say, you continue to pick the topics right out of my head, the words, you're saying them. That business that I could have purchased 15 years ago is doing very, very well now.
Brent, you want to jump in there?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just had a couple of, comments. As Mark said, there's a special designation within the Chartered Accountancy around business valuation, and it is complicated, and there's a reason for that. Ultimately, I guess price, like anything, comes down to what someone is willing to pay for it, and I mean whatever the two parties are, come to agree upon. That's what it's worth ultimately, and that can be a lot or that can be a little, and I guess that's one of the biggest challenges that I've often seen in a couple deals here, even in the Humber Valley in the past couple of years, where the seller had price on their business that they thought it was worth, but the market hasn't responded to it. So obviously, people, as Mark referenced earlier, the emotional attachment to it is a lot greater, and it's like no one has an ugly baby, right? They don't see that, so people think it's worth a lot more than it is, unless the right person comes along and sees the value in either the assets or the goodwill of that business. So ultimately, that's that's how you're going to come to settle on price, is what's it worth to someone to buy. The other thing, I guess, from our department's perspective is that I don't think I heard referenced, maybe I missed it, but some businesses are instead of just looking at someone to buy the business, are also looking at employee successions and looking at a co-op model. So if your business, now again, that may not be the case here, we're mostly solopreneurs, but for businesses that have a number of employees, looking to a co-op model where the employees can then take over the business using, setting up a cooperative is certainly something to investigate as well. The other point that I wanted to raise is, anyone hear of the NL HR Manager webpage? If you haven't, I suggest you check it out. It's a webpage that was set up a few years ago by the provincial government. It's great resources for human resource management. One of the modules that's on there, which is available through Course Park, which again was another program that the government set up a few years ago, you can actually do a training module on succession planning. So it's you go in, you register, and it gives you access to all the video resources and online learning around succession planning, both from an employee perspective and from a business succession planning perspective as well. So I can send you the links to those. I'll put them in the chat window there so you can look up those.
Perfect. I'm seeing Alison typing away. I got a feeling she's ahead of you.
There you go. She's already got it.
She's usually pretty quick on that. Excellent. Thank you, Brent. Yeah, I think there's certainly, as a solopreneur, I mean, I say I shared my own story, it never even occurred to me, but I think the other piece that when you are a solopreneur and you're the brand, it's probably a little bit harder to sell that brand as value if you're not coming with it. You know, I'm looking here at Alison, Edwina, Sharon, and myself as solopreneurs that we're all certified in certain programming or certain, you know, aspects of things that we do. So we can definitely say we're experts in this area because we've done extensive training to get into those, you know, certifications and designations and so on. So is there any thought, Mark or Tobi, on how you value that? Or is it you're looking, because Mark, you brought the point, maybe they have to bring somebody in. So the owner may not have the same certifications or the owner may not have the same skill set. So if either of you come across that type of thing.
So I'm gonna give a local example. This is the first one that popped in my head. So it's not the best example, but it's an example, and that's the law firm Poole Althouse. Neither Poole or Althouse, although there is a Althouse who now works there, but Poole nor Althouse actually work at that firm anymore. Like, it still carries their name, but they are not there. You know, and it had other names throughout history, but that business, I guess, legal entity or law firm, whatever you want to call it, has existed, and it's really a collection of people who were there. And, you know, the name has changed a few times over the years, but, you know, it hasn't changed with the last few senior partners. So, okay. You know, because they have brand identity as, you know, I guess an example.
Yeah, okay.
Or, you know, it could be the name changes over time, right? Like, you know, it's your name now, but then maybe, you know, you drop your first name, or you drop your last name, the business name, and then it seems a little more generic, or, you know, like, there's lots of ways from a marketing perspective to, you know, brand yourself out of the equation with a bit of planning and a bit of.
Alison and I could become Butler and Spicer facilitation, and then we go into Butler, Spicer, Evans facilitation. Eventually, Evans takes it over.
Right.
There you go. Okay.
I think some with that too, Carol, depending on the structure of the business, whether you are operating as a sole proprietor, or if you decide before you look at selling, if you might want to incorporate it, the pros and cons of doing that, and how easy that transition might make selling. Also, again, coming back to the timelines and, you know, whether you would stay on as an employee, how long you would give that business, so that you can help a coming in owner to get the certifications that they need to build off of your experience. And that mentorship, I think, is a really long-term consideration that needs to be put into selling the business to make it really beneficial for a new owner. So just some thoughts for, you know, the transitioning and how long of a window you might want to put into helping somebody to grow that aspect of it.
So just on the incorporation, if you're a solopreneur, some of the tax advantages require you to be incorporated for, I believe it's 2 calendar years. Again, I'm not a tax expert, but it's not like you can incorporate and then take advantage of some of the tax benefits. There's the time frame. I believe it's 2 years. Do not quote me. And then there also may be some financial incentives for the person who sold the business to be on staff for a period of time after they've sold the business. But I'm not going to get into how that works either, because I'm not a tax or a legal professional. But there are definitely some considerations there around some financial incentives and taxation to stay on as well. So, but you know, definitely it takes a 2-year time horizon to get there. or more. So, if you're 57 and want to retire at 60, you're really hitting the boundary now, shall we say.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big takeaways for me is to think about how much lead time you need to do something like this, right? And I know, well, I'm looking at a few of us here, this was sort of a later stage career start. So, I don't know that we sort of thought about the end as we were coming into it because we'd already done other things previous. So it's an interesting thought to think of. Yeah. Alison, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention on that point that, having the plan in place is important, yes, for your retirement, but it's also for those unexpected sudden ends to your company. So starting the process sooner rather than later is, is advisable. It's your backup plan.
Yeah, because really for many of us, especially as solopreneurs, our health is everything, right? If we're healthy, we're running the business. If something were to strike us, then, we're the business. So where does that go? So yeah, it's certainly something to think of. I want to do a welcome shout out to Scott. Scott snuck in. Scott, is there anything available through Futurepreneur? I know that you're on the younger end of people getting into business, but is there anything through Futurepreneur around succession planning at all?
For sure. Yep. Thanks, Carol. Not specifically just for succession planning, but just overall in purchasing a business. So that's why we've identified, no different than like Tobi and the CBDCs or maybe Mark and Brent and stuff. We receive a lot of calls because, again, we only deal with young entrepreneurs, those in the 18 to 39 age range, and to help fund and provide mentorship with startup businesses. And a lot of the opportunities that our young entrepreneurs are presenting to us looking for funding is succession type businesses. So, hey, Scott, I found there's somebody in my community, there's somebody in my network, they're looking at retiring, they're looking at selling their business. We or I would like to purchase that business as a young entrepreneur. So that's one thing that we definitely see a lot of. And we try to support as many of those as we can through our Futurepreneur financing and mentorship program. So it's not a specific succession plan purchase program. It's just you can use Futurepreneur Canada financing to buy an existing business. And we actually get some calls, Carol. I think it's important. That's why I loved when you were promoting this session. I actually get phone calls from places around the island where people say, Scott, I've had this business for 27 years. I'm looking at retiring. None of my kids want to take over the business. Do you know of a young entrepreneur who's looking at buying a business in this community, in this sector? If so, send them my way. So there's definitely opportunities there.
So I talk to Mark and get a little bit of do's and don'ts. I go get some money from Tobi to get evaluated. Then I go to you to say, find me a buyer. Hey, there's my plan.
And like I told this person, I was like, I don't have a running list of people who are looking at buying a business, but maybe I should start because I've had people call me up and say, I've got this business. And again, it comes with, like Mark said, the valuation and all the goodwill and the pricing and stuff like that. But they're like, I'm willing to sell this business, establish customers, establish this. If you find a young entrepreneur that's looking to buy, I have an opportunity.
Okay.
Once upon a time, the CBDC, maybe it was CBDC Atlantic, used to have I'll say a website of businesses that were for sale and a place for people wanting to sell that they could list their businesses. So it worked both ways for purchasers and sellers. I don't know if that still exists, Tobi, or does it?
It does, Brent. They are looking at overhauling it and trying to make it more current, but it is Business Atlantic. .ca, I think it is. I can provide Alison with the link for that so that she can send it out. And I'm not sure how current the list is. I try to go in on a quarterly basis anyway to see if there's anything new and exciting and any opportunities that's coming about to make people aware of. So, but they're in the 4 Atlantic provinces. So anybody looking to go to PEI and take over a golf course, in sunshine weather or something like that. But yeah, no, I'll provide that to you, Alison, so that you can forward it on.
That's excellent.
Thanks,
I never even thought of that prospect, right? Of leveraging some of you folks in the ecosystem to so like, what is this now? Tinder for buyers and sellers.
do get approached with a number of things like that as well. Actually, I was just thinking maybe that's something that, you know, we could look at even putting on our website if there were enough interest. You know, Mark, you were mentioning that there are a lot of businesses up for sale right now.
Yeah, so it's the dynamic is a little strange sometimes around that. So a lot of people don't want the public to know their business is for sale because that has a negative effect on the perception of that business, you know. And the classic example, I think if you were to look that up in the literature, would be a car dealership. People don't want to buy a car from a car dealership that's going to close because they're worried about service and repair. Right. Mm-hmm. So having that for sale sign can be really problematic. Or people, you know, but I think, you know, there's a good network of people out there who know the people who were, you know, like that soft sort of, you know, by the way, this person would like to retire in a few years. Like that informal network is actually pretty strong in Western Newfoundland. Despite our lack of networking as a group, I think there's, you know, that network is relatively strong. The other thing that's out there is, again, I'm not going to name names, but most of the financial professionals and valuators out there, they are connected to the pool of potential investors in these sorts of businesses. So a lot of times, if you're really interested in buying a business and you have, you know, you think you can make a compelling case that you can run the business, if you reach out to some of these professionals who are in that game of business valuation or whatnot, you might find that they know investors who are willing to invest in that business but don't have the time to run it. And that network's a little bit rusty in Western Newfoundland, best case scenario. But, you know, there's those options as well. Like, you know, so if you find a young entrepreneur who can go, you know, who's working with Scott and they need $500,000, Scott can't provide $500,000. You know, the financial professionals in town might know of some people who, you know, would be willing to take a risk on a young entrepreneur who, you know, has good references, so to speak. Because I think a lot of these investment folks, they're just as concerned about the person they're investing in as the investment opportunity or more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most investors will tell you they invest in an individual more, you know, weighs more on the individual than the actual product or service in a lot of cases. Andrew, bienvenue. I want to throw it out to you. Is there anything from Renee for the bilingual community that you folks get into with succession planning at all?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, just checking. I'm on my phone today, so I'm not sure if anybody can see me or not. I'm not pointing the camera at me anyway, just in case. I've been covering it up just to make sure. Nothing really specific, no, just you know, regular, you know, business counseling, you know, and we usually refer people over to CBDC or Futurepreneur, unless it's really specific that they would like, you know, translation services. If we have a fund where, you know, people can get their promotional material translated and whatnot and stuff like that. But yeah, okay. Nothing really specific, I guess, to succession planning. But yeah, I don't know if that helps or not.
No, excellent. I just want to make sure we gave you a chance if you did. Janice, I'm going to throw it to you because you're one that does have partners. Do you have any particular questions for any of our presenters today?
Well, am I on now?
We can hear you, but camera's on, but that's okay.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any specific questions. I have to admit that we probably haven't done a lot in succession planning. We might be the kind of people that are hoping our kids will take over. But when we incorporated, we did do some planning with our lawyer with regards to what if something happens to one of us, or that sort of planning. But I think the information that Mark and Tobi have provided today has been very, very helpful in thinking that, you know, as we get older, we should be making our plans now rather than waiting. So I want to thank you very much for that information.
Excellent. Thank you. Edwina, this is your first coffee break with us. You're unmuted. Do you have any questions or comments at all?
I'm unmuted now. Sorry, I'm
Yep.
still trying to figure out the controls here. It disappeared on me.
That's okay.
I don't have any questions, but I do have some comments. I just want to say that when I looked at, this is my first day, as you know, and when I looked at the agenda and I thought, oh, succession planning, okay, well, not really something for me, but I'm certainly going to start the networking process. And anyway, all of a sudden, it's like I have a full page of notes here. So this has been an awesome information session. Not something I've thought about either, like you, Carol. Like, you know, I'm alone here. And succession planning, like, really? But now I'm thinking, okay, there is value with my business. And I have done quite well, so maybe I should start the process and start thinking about it. So I appreciate all the information. I also want to just comment as well on Tobi's presentation there. I have, since I started my business 3 years ago, a lot of clients that have taken advantage of the CBDC programs, the CAS, the ETF, and whatever. And it's been phenomenal, right from Portabass right to St. John's. The service has been great, and even in Corner Brook as well. So I've certainly appreciated the program, and I know my clients have, because I encourage them to go there. And they're all just, you know, their mouth drops. It's like, really? I can get 75% covered, or I can get 90% covered. So they're all taking advantage of it. And I guess as a former board member of the CBDC, I knew about the programs. And now as an entrepreneur, I keep saying it's not out there enough, because I have educated so many businesses about the programs of CBDC just because I knew about them personally. And so there needs to be, I think, more information out there about that for the businesses. And I don't know how you do it, because, you know, I know that there's quite a bit of marketing done onto it, but there's still a lot of business out there not aware of these programs.
True enough.
Just also to end off to say thank you for today. It's been enlightening. I'm delighted to be part of this West Coast team and hoping to participate more in these coffee break sessions. And you know, Carol's been awesome. She's got me set up on quite a few things here, and I'm looking forward to it. And someone already has impressively sent me an email asking me to add them to their professional network. So I was like, wow, this is great. I've got someone asking me to already. So I'm really impressed. I thank you for the invite, and I'm looking forward to having more dialogue.
Excellent. Thank you. We're so glad you did it.
I have one thing that I forgot, and, you know, I don't want to get in trouble for not saying it, is that there's a resource out there. It's being, I guess, expanded in the next little while, called Canada Business. So if you Google Canada Business or go to their website to call the 1-800 number, that's a free resource for business information, and they can help you with all sorts of succession planning stuff. And for those of you who are financial geeks, like I know the other day they helped someone incorporate in Delaware. I won't explain why, but if you are in the tech sector, that is sometimes something you need to do for tax purposes. Yeah, like they're a wealth of information. So Canada Business is, and it's free.
Excellent.
They might refer you to me, but usually, you know, if you have a specific question, they'll find actually a specialist who can help you with the issue.
Excellent. Alison R, and then I'm going to go to Alison B. Just put you on alert, Alison B.
Actually, just Edwina, you brought up something that Carol and I were going to ask towards the end of the session today, but we've been trying to offer sessions that answer questions that entrepreneurs have. Like, we want it to be driven by your needs, and so we were thinking about, for an upcoming session, while we generally try to focus on entrepreneurs, maybe we need a session that focuses on the support organizations and funders specifically, and letting everyone know about all the different programs that are out there, because there are so many. And a lot of people are not aware of those programs. So that's something that I think we're going to have to look at sooner rather than later, because there's definitely, definitely a lot of value in getting everyone together and sharing that information.
We were going to call it Show Me the Money.
Absolutely. Yeah, I keep saying there's not enough information out there for programs especially for small businesses, small, medium-sized businesses. They really don't know what's out there and what's available to them. So yeah, I agree. And if you need me as a resource, I can certainly offer whatever I have, because I've been 3 years talking about these programs everywhere I go, and I've created quite a list of businesses that are utilizing it now. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, we would like you to come on and speak at some point about what you offer as well, because I think there's a lot of potential there for, to support other businesses. And Carol, we usually do a little bit of a round where everyone gets to introduce their business. So if we've got enough time, we'll do that as well.
Yep. Alison Butler, what's going on in your world? Self-care.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say I'm so excited that I finally got to attend. I didn't even know what I was signing up for. Well, I mean, I knew what I was signing up for, but I didn't know the topic. I just finally found a date where I could come on with everyone when I wasn't teaching. So I was really excited about that. And also, this is the second time in a couple of weeks, another kind of coach that I've been working with also started talking to me about retirement, and I was just like, so it seems like it just keeps coming up in my circle. So really informative. Do you want me to lead into introductions, Carol, or
Sure.
are we?
That sounds good.
Look at me transitioning. So I'm Alison Butler. I'm on the East Coast. I live in Paradise. Love this little Navigate community. I think it's fantastic. So I am working in the wellness sphere. I am a mental health first aid trainer, primarily virtual right now, teaching all across the province and also all across Canada, which I love. And I'm also doing a lot of kind of wellness speaking, self-care, what does wellness actually look like in our real lives. So some of you are already familiar with that, I know. Yeah, so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm working on expanding some offerings, lots on the go, busy. So
Excellent.
I'm so happy to be here.
And we're happy because we had you as a speaker for one of the sessions as well. So we were very, very happy to have you here.
That's what I was
going to take some time for ourselves and build that into our day. So
we have a session that Alison did for us that you can see on our YouTube channel, and you can see that if you go through our website, you'll be able to find that. And that was back in January.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for being with us today. Appreciate it. We're going to be tapping on you again on the shoulder for the Show Me the Money session.
All right, see you. Sorry, I got to run. I do have a meeting in 8 minutes, so
that's okay.
I'll do later.
Thank you. Abdul, do you want to say hi and let us know who you are?
Hi. Can I turn on my videos? I think. What is it?
There you go.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're there.
Can you see me?
Yep.
All right. Good. So hi everyone. I'm Abdul. I'm a PhD student in Grenfell campus, but I'm working with Alison as part of the internship program. So I have an idea to start a consulting firm for environmental policy in the province because I have my master's in environmental policy and I'm doing that with a couple of friends. So I'm just, enjoying the sessions and learning about succession planning and other things. It's quite interesting, but I mean, even though most of it was more about business, and I'm trying to get into business because I have a background. Most of my working life has been with NGOs and nonprofits, and I know that succession plan is also a key thing for nonprofits and even other organizations. So I've been happy to, be around and enjoy the sessions. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm so glad you can join us.
Yes.
So make sure if you, I'm sure Alison will put you in touch with Scott if it's appropriate to avail of things through his organization.
Right.
Sharon, what have you got coming up for wellness for us, building on Alison's mental health first aid? No, you were unmuted, but it wasn't working again. Nope, for some reason that's not connecting. Well, Sharon's figuring that out. Edwina, do you just want to let folks know about your business, what you do?
Sure. Very quickly, I'll just say I'm actually pivoting my business now. I started out with HR consulting services and offering a wide range of HR services, but I'm now, thanks to COVID, had to, I guess, rethink, and I'm now in the process of rebranding. So I'm just going to be focusing on my training piece, which I have been doing all along. I've just expanded onto it. So it's HR. It is now Avail HR Training Solutions. That's going to be my new name. I heard the word Avail several times here this morning. It's like, yeah, right on. So yeah. But anyway, I do have quite a few, a lot of training programs, I should say, that I offer. In particular, leadership training. There are specialty programs. I also offer.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh.
Yes. Hear me?
Programs, and which there's quite a few there, which again, specialty training sessions, solutions. And I offer a lot of work.
Heard me earlier though.
That's okay. She's having trouble. You're good?
Unmuted.
So, and a number, so basically it's a range of HR solutions.
Can you hear me?
And I'm looking forward to starting the networking process, which I've actually done through this, and just joined NLO, which I think is going to be very valuable, and so forth. So looking forward to continued networking with this and with my business and so forth. So I'm going to let the other ladies speak now. You're having
all right. Try again, Sharon.
No.
Nope. Now it's gone again. You're unmuted, and it shows that it's you're talking, but we're not hearing anything. There you are.
Okay, got me now?
Yep.
You have me? No.
Yep.
Are you oriented? You oriented? Yeah. Here you go. No. Now. A couple times throughout the session, you guys, I don't know if you're muting everybody all at once, but I got muted. But as long as you can hear me now, that's the main thing. The segue for mental health and wellness, overall wellness. I run Siva Meditation, owner-operator, Siva Meditation, for the last 6 years. So we've got a wellness retreat in the midst of COVID and cases and vaccines and everything. We've got a beautiful wellness retreat coming up at the Scenic Cormac Retreat Center there. It's, I'm trying to think of the name, Rocky Brook Acres. It's a beautiful, tranquil spot up there. Roseanne Brake has hired myself and another yoga teacher, Carmelita Morgan. So that's June 11th to the 13th, and all the protocols will be in place. I don't know, Alison, if I can send you out the flyer, maybe you can share it with the group. And yeah, so all things wellness it's my game. So thank you for this morning, ladies. Always a pleasure to hear, and gentlemen. I'm only seeing ladies right now in my screen, but I know there's men there too. So thank you. It was very informative.
Excellent. Thank you. Janice, your location, you're starting to open up for the season, I believe.
Yes, Thanks, Carol. We're down here in York Harbor, beautiful York Harbor this morning with the sun shining, and our chairs are out front. And the shop is open part-time right at the moment, Thursday to Sunday, but starting the 1st of June, we'll be open every day, 10 to 6. And we have a wide variety, getting more new things in all the time, Newfoundland art and crafts. And as Carol said, there's 3 of us here. And we're hoping this summer to have at least 1, maybe 2 summer students. So we're always ready for visitors. And we're hoping that even if the bubble doesn't open, we're going to get some Newfoundland visitors. Last year, we were really happy to see a lot of Newfoundlanders traveling and a lot of Eastern Newfoundlanders coming to the West Coast for the first time. So I guess we're just going to let see what happens. But we're looking forward with optimism for another season.
Excellent. It is a beautiful spot, and those chairs overlook the bay and the islands and the ocean and the breeze. It's just absolutely wonderful. All right, I think I've had a chance to kind of run through everyone to say hello. So a couple things that are coming up. Alison has been working hard to get some training for us, as she mentioned. So we've got a bookkeeping basics coming up for entrepreneurs. It's going to be on Monday evenings, 7 to 9 p.m. So the dates are there. So contact Alison if you're interested in that. And I'm sure there's going to be more communication coming out. Our next coffee break is on June 24th. We've had to juggle on it back. I know we keep changing the days and we kind of hit and miss different people, but we're going to be back to a Thursday in June. And that's mostly due to my scheduling commitments. So apologize on that one. As Sharon just asked Alison, and Alison is, I think this is one thing that Navigate is really, really good at. They do promote us entrepreneurs. So if you do have events, yes, Alison will always post and share, and that's part of the community piece around making sure that we're all connected. So tag them if you've got a post, or just send it to Alison and she'll put it out on their social media networks as well. I know for me that works because I'm not on all social media platforms, but Navigate's on different social media platforms. So that helps promote without me having to go onto those platforms all the time. so kind of leverage that.
Carol, I just want to mention about the boot camp as well, the bookkeeping basics for entrepreneurs. Space is limited because it's a lot of group work and one-on-one. So there are basically 4 sessions that are 2 hours each. We've got space for 12. There is a small fee associated with it because we want to make sure that people who sign up, again, where space is limited, we want to make sure that they come to all of the sessions. But if anyone has any concerns about that, let me know. And it's that fee is about $25 total. So that's just, again, to make sure that if you commit to it, that you will avail of the 4 full sessions.
So it's going to be an in-person session, Alison?
No, it'll be virtual.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and we've got some folks at Grenfell lined up to coach those sessions. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. She's put some more information in chat on that. Stay connected. So if you are not yet listed in Navigate's business directory, and I do think most of us are, it might be new for you, Edwina, contact Alison. You can send in your logo and your contact information. They have a free business directory right on their website. And so it's really nice. I love it because it's really visual. It's all about the logo speaks first, and then you click on the logo and you get access to the information. It's all organized, alphabetical, and so on. So it's really nice. There's, as Alison mentioned, Alison Butler's session is recorded and is available on their website. This session is being recorded, as I mentioned at the beginning. All of our sessions are posted on Navigate's website through to YouTube. It's on my YouTube as well. So if you want to go back and say, what was that they said, and you want to go back to it, then certainly that's available. There's lots of other resources available on Navigate's website. There's templates and different types of connections and resources that are available there as well. You can stay connected with Navigate. There's all the social media they're on. You can subscribe to their newsletter. Obviously, Alison is our contact person through there. I have a newsletter as well. I know that others here do. So many of you have been putting your business information. We will put that out in our follow-up email. But I encourage you, as Edwina just said, hey, I just got an invitation to connect with somebody. That's fantastic. I mean, it means a lot to everyone. I know that there's many businesses, I will never buy the product, but I follow them online because it's just something to do to show support and, to do that connection. So I know I always get excited when people sign up for my newsletter or follow me on a social media platform. It's always exciting because at least then you don't feel like you're just talking to the abyss. Somebody's actually seeing what you do. So that's kind of cool.
And just a quick thing for anyone who wants to be a part of that business directory. If you go to the website, I just put everything over in chat there, all the links that you can copy out. But if you go to the website and go to the ecosystem section, you'll see the businesses and the companies we serve. And if you click on any of those business logos, it'll bring you to a page that shows the layout that we're looking for. So I would need you to send me your logo file and descriptions that sort of fit the structure of each of those pages.
Yeah. Excellent. We are bang on 1 o'clock. Does anyone have any last words to say? And before I let y'all go for the day.
Big thank you to Tobi for coming out today and
Yep.
talking about the programs.
I want to say thank you. It's fabulous. I've only got to attend a couple. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind for us here in the office. Some of you know I'm fairly new to Cornerbrook. It's less than 2 years since I've been here, and I took over as executive director a year ago, and COVID decided it was going to challenge me, so it's been interesting to say the least. I am a big advocate of businesses in our area. I'm only on Facebook, but everything I see I try to promote, and I think we need to work together to improve our economy here, and I think we're the ones that's probably going to do it. We have the energy and desire to see good things happen to the area, so we're a work in progress for sure. There's lots of things happening, and look forward to building on it and being able to promote all the awesome businesses that are in the area and services that we do not need to go outside to find, because we have expertise here that everybody can avail of. So great on everyone, and look forward to seeing where this all takes us.
Excellent. Thank you again so much. One thing I always make sure I point out for Scott Andrews and Futurepreneur, to get their money, you need to be 18 to 39, but to use their resources and attend some of their workshops, those of us of an older age are able to attend. So I always want to make sure that that they've got a lot of valuable resources in their programming as well that we can grab. Andrew is there if you have any bilingual needs, if you're selling to bilingual market or you're looking for any translation services. And I know Andrew didn't mention it, but he is transitioning into a tourism focused role as well with Rede coming up soon. So if that's an industry that you're looking to connect with, then he is your gentleman out on the Port-a-Port. So we've gone Port-a-Bass, Port-a-Port, York Harbor, Paradise, St. John's, Cornerbrook, Pasadena, Massey Drive. What a day. This is fantastic. Thanks everyone for attending. We'll see you next month, if not before.
All right, and thank you,
Thank
Carol,
you all.
Thank you.
for facilitation.
Have an awesome day.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.